The phone slipped from my hand, clattering onto the cold tile floor of the hospital break room like a gunshot in the dead of night. My heart hammered against my ribs, a wild animal trapped in a cage too small, as my mother's words echoed in my skull. "I'm not your babysitter, Emily. Figure it out yourself." The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, harsh and unforgiving, casting shadows that danced mockingly on the walls. My daughter, my sweet 6-year-old Lily, was burning up with fever at school, vomiting in the nurse's office, and the one person I thought I could count on, the woman who birthed me, raised me, promised me the world, had just hung up on me. Rage boiled up from my gut, hot and acidic, mixing with the bitter sting of tears I refused to let fall. Not here. Not in this sterile hell where I scrubbed blood off floors and held dying hands for 12-hour shifts. How dare she? After everything I'd sacrificed for her. I bent down to retrieve the phone, my knees wobbling like they might give out. The screen was cracked now, a spiderweb of fractures mirroring the shatter inside my chest. Lily needed me, but I was stuck here miles away, in the middle of a double shift because rent doesn't pay itself and single moms don't get fairy godmothers. My mind raced back to that morning, Lily's clammy forehead against my palm, her whimpers as I dosed her with Tylenol and prayed it would hold until pickup. "Mommy, my tummy hurts," she'd said, her big blue eyes just like my mother's, pleading. I'd kissed her, promised I'd be there soon, and dropped her off with a knot in my stomach. Now that knot was a noose, tightening with every second. I paced the break room, the scent of stale coffee and disinfectant choking me. Humiliation washed over me in waves. How many times had I begged for her help? How many weekends had I spent cleaning her house, cooking her meals, listening to her endless complaints about Dad leaving her 20 years ago? I'd been her emotional crutch, her free labor, her everything since he walked out. And now, when I needed her most, she spat in my face. "I'm not your babysitter." The words replayed, each syllable a knife twist. I could hear the smugness in her voice, the way she'd drawn out babysitter like it was beneath her, as if watching her own granddaughter was some menial chore. Denial crept in first, a slippery whisper. Maybe she didn't mean it. Maybe she was having a bad day. But no, I knew better. This wasn't new. It was the culmination of years of subtle digs, of her favoring my brother, of her resenting me for getting knocked up at 22 by a guy who bolted before the ink dried on the paternity test. Heartbreak clawed at me. Heartbreak for Lily, who adored her Nana, baking cookies in that outdated kitchen with its peeling wallpaper and the faint smell of mothballs. How could I explain this to her? "Nana's too busy for you, sweetie." The thought fueled a resentment so deep it felt like poison seeping into my veins. I called the school back, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. "I'll be there as soon as I can," I lied to the nurse, who sounded exhausted herself. "Just keep her comfortable." Hanging up, I leaned against the wall, the cool plaster a brief reprieve from the heat flushing my skin. Fantasies flickered unbidden. Me storming into Mom's pristine living room, smashing her precious china collection, the one she'd inherited from Grandma and lorded over like a trophy. Or screaming at her until my throat bled, forcing her to admit she was a selfish, heartless bitch. But those were just sparks. The real fire was building slower, an ember of obsession igniting in the dark corners of my mind. Revenge. The word tasted metallic like blood from a bitten tongue. What if I made her feel this pain? What if I turned the tables? Guilt nipped at the edges. "She's your mother, Emily." Blood. But blood hadn't stopped her from abandoning us. I clocked out early, begging my supervisor for mercy, and drove to the school in a haze, the rain-slicked roads blurring through my windshield wiper's frantic swipe. Lily was pale and listless when I scooped her up, her small body radiating heat like a furnace. "Where's Nana?" she murmured, her head lolling against my shoulder. I swallowed the lump in my throat. "Nana couldn't make it, baby. Mommy's here now." At home, our cramped apartment with its threadbare couch and toys scattered like landmines, I tucked Lily into bed with ice packs and cartoons flickering on the TV. As she dozed, I sat on the edge of the mattress, stroking her hair, my mind churning. Doubt crept in. Was I overreacting? Maybe call her tomorrow, smooth things over. But then I remembered the time she'd cancelled on us last minute. For bridge club, for a date with some silver fox from church. Resentment hardened into resolve, cold and unyielding. I needed to plan. Not rashly, not in anger, but with the precision of a surgeon's scalpel. That night sleep evaded me. The clock ticked mockingly from the nightstand, each second amplifying the storm inside. I replayed our last conversation, dissecting it like a corpse. Emily, I'm busy today. I have plans. Plans. What plans? Bridge with her cronies, gossiping about the neighbors while sipping cheap wine. Or was it something else? A hidden motive flickered. Maybe she was seeing someone, embarrassed to admit it. Or worse, maybe she just didn't care. The thought sent a shiver down my spine, fear mingling with the fury. What if this was who she really was? A woman who'd prioritized her freedom over family, over me. By dawn, obsession had taken root. I called in sick to work, another lie, another knot in my conscience, and spent the day nursing Lily, her fever breaking in fits and starts. Between doses of medicine and storybooks, my thoughts wandered to vengeance. Subtle at first. Ignore her calls, let her stew in silence. But that felt too passive, too weak. No, it needed to hurt, to mirror the betrayal she'd inflicted. Moral conflict gnawed at me. Revenge makes you know better than her, a voice whispered. But another countered. Justice isn't revenge. It's balance. I started small, probing for weaknesses. I scrolled through her Facebook, the curated facade of her life. Photos of garden parties, smiling with friends I'd never met, captions dripping with faux joy. Living my best life. One read, posted just yesterday. While Lily suffered. Anger surged anew, hot and primal. I commented. Glad you're having fun, Mom. Lily sends her love, from the nurse's office. Petty, yes, but the likes from mutual friends, the lack of her reply, fueled me. Days blurred into a week. Lily recovered, her laughter returning like sunlight after rain. But the wound in me festered. Mom called once, her voice clipped. How's Lily? No apology, no remorse. Fine now, I snapped, hanging up before she could respond. Suppressed rage built, a pressure cooker ready to explode. I began observing her routine from afar, driving by her house at odd hours, noting the lights on late, the unfamiliar car in the driveway one night. Was she hiding a lover? The idea twisted in my gut. Jealousy mixing with betrayal. She'd always preached family first, yet here she was playing house while I drowned. Inner conflict raged as I planned. Fantasies evolved. Expose her secrets, turn her friends against her. But doubt lingered. What if it backfired? What if Lily got caught in the crossfire? Guilt was a constant companion, whispering of forgiveness, of bridges not burned. Yet resentment won out layer by layer. I confided in no one. This was mine, a private war. One evening, as rain hammered the roof, I sat at the kitchen table, a notebook open before me. Lists. Her vulnerabilities, her reputation at church, her fragile ego, her dependence on me for tech help, bills, everything. A plan coalesced, slow and insidious. I'd infiltrate her life, pretend reconciliation, then strike from within. Fear prickled my skin. What if she saw through it? But the cold resolve pushed me forward. This wasn't just for me. It was for Lily, for every abandoned child. The turning point came at her birthday dinner. I'd invited her over, feigning normalcy. The apartment smelled of roasted chicken and garlic, a peace offering. She arrived fashionably late, her perfume cloying, her smile plastic. Emily, darling, everything looks lovely. Lily hugged her, oblivious, chattering about school. We ate in tense silence, forks scraping plates like nails on chalkboard. Then midway through I couldn't hold it. Why didn't you help, Mom? Lily was sick. My voice cracked, raw emotion spilling out. She set her fork down, eyes narrowing. I told you, I'm not your babysitter. You chose this life, single mom, dead-end job. Don't drag me into it. Humiliation burned my cheeks. You promised to be there for us. Promises change, she said coolly, sipping wine. I'm done being your crutch. Heartbreak hit like a freight train. There it was, the truth, unvarnished. She resented me, saw me as a burden. Obsession flared. Revenge wasn't optional now. It was inevitable. As she left, hugging Lily goodbye with feigned warmth, I smiled. See you soon, Mom. Inside, the plan solidified. I'd make her regret those words. The next weeks were a masterclass in deception. I called her daily, apologetic, rebuilding the bridge I'd soon burn. I overreacted, I lied. Let's start fresh. She ate it up, her ego stroked. I helped with her garden, fixed her computer, listened to her woes. All the while gathering intel, her affair with the church deacon, hidden from her pious friends, her secret gambling habit draining her savings, her forged will cutting me out in favor of my brother. Suspense built in quiet moments, a glance she didn't catch, a question too probing. Doubt plagued me, was this right? Moral grayness enveloped me. Revenge felt justified, yet tainted. But the betrayal's scar throbbed, pushing me on. One night, alone with a glass of wine, I mapped it out. Exposure first. Anonymous tips to her church group about the affair. Then, financial ruin, hack her accounts. No too traceable. Instead, manipulate her into bad bets, watch her crumble. Finally, the emotional gut punch. Reveal I'd known all along, abandon her in her hour of need. Fear gripped me. What if it destroyed me too? Guilt whispered of mercy. But cold resolve silenced them. This was poetic justice. As part one ended, the stage was set. Tension simmered. Hints of vengeance dropping like breadcrumbs. Tomorrow the first strike. The church basement smelled of stale cookies and desperation, the fluorescent bulbs humming like a swarm of angry bees. I stood in the shadows of the doorway, watching Mom mingle with her flock, her laugh tinkling falsely as she clutched a styrofoam cup of coffee. The anonymous email I'd sent from a burner account had landed that morning. Ask Eleanor about her private meetings with Deacon Harris. Sinners among saints. Subtle, untraceable, planted like a seed in fertile gossip soil. Suspense coiled in my gut as whispers spread, eyes darting her way. She hadn't noticed yet, but the net was closing. Inner conflict raged as I drove home. Had I gone too far? The moral quagmire sucked at me. This was her community, her lifeline since Dad left. But then I pictured Lily's fever-flushed face, alone at school, and resentment surged. No, this was balance. Obsession had evolved into a cold calculus. Each step measured, each risk weighed. Lily asked about Nana that night, her innocent questions piercing. Why doesn't she come over anymore? I hugged her tight, guilt twisting like a knife. She's busy, sweetie. But Mommy loves you. The lie tasted like ash, but protecting her was paramount. Doubt flickered. What if this poisoned us all? But the plan propelled me, a train hurtling toward collision. The fallout came swift. Mom called the next day, voice trembling. Emily, something awful happened. Rumors at church, about me and someone. I feigned shock, my heart pounding. Who would do that? Inside, satisfaction bloomed, dark and sweet. Come over, she begged. I need you. I went, mask in place. Her house was a mess. Papers strewn, eyes red-rimmed. It's lies, she insisted, but her fidgeting betrayed her. Dialogue flowed naturally, laced with tension. Mom, tell me the truth. Is there an affair? She crumpled, confessing in sobs. It's nothing serious. Just companionship. Manipulation seeped in as I comforted her, planting seeds. You should confront them. Or maybe step back from church for a bit. Suppressed rage simmered beneath my calm. This was her vulnerability exposed. As weeks passed, the whispers grew. Friends distanced themselves. Invitations dried up. Mom spiraled, turning to her hidden vice. Online gambling. I discovered it months ago, peeking at her browser history during a tech fix. Now, I encouraged it subtly. Maybe a little fun to take your mind off things, I suggested over tea. the steam curling like smoke signals of deceit. She bit hard. Nights found her at the computer, eyes glazed, bets escalating. I watched from afar, hacking her Wi-Fi logs with the app I'd downloaded. Nothing illegal, just monitoring. Her losses mounted. $500, then $2,000. Financial ruin loomed, and with it my next strike. Emotional layers deepened. Heartbreak for the woman she'd been. My mom reading bedtime stories, bandaging knees. But resentment overshadowed. She'd chosen selfishness over us. Obsession gripped me. Fantasies of her begging for help fueling sleepless nights. The pivotal moment came during a storm. Thunder rumbling like judgment. She called frantic. "Emily, I've lost everything. The house payment. I gambled it away." Her voice cracked, raw vulnerability exposed. I drove over, rain lashing the windows like accusations. She was a wreck, huddled on the couch, the room dim and oppressive. "Help me," she pleaded. "Loan me money. You're my daughter." Here it was, the mirror of my betrayal. Cold resolve hardened. "I'm not your bank, Mom. Figure it out yourself." Her eyes widened, shock etching her face. "What? Emily, please. I begged you for help with Lily. You said no. I'm not your babysitter. Remember." Realization dawned, horror mingling with fury. This was you. The email. The encouragement. Dialogue heightened the tension. "You betrayed me first," I spat, anger unleashing. "Years of using me, then abandoning your own granddaughter." She lunged, grabbing my arm, nails digging in. "You're twisted. I raised you better." Humiliation reversed. Now she felt it, the sting of rejection. But as I pulled away, guilt crashed in, her tears so like lilies. Moral conflict peaked. Was this justice or cruelty? I left her there, sobbing, the door slamming like a finality. Outside, rain soaked me, cleansing yet chilling. Fear hit. What consequences awaited? Would she retaliate? Doubt screamed I'd become the monster. The twist unfolded days later. A knock at my door, police. "Ma'am, your mother's in the hospital. Overdose attempt." Heartbreak shattered me. I rushed there, the sterile halls echoing my earlier fury. She lay pale, tubes snaking her arms. "Emily," she whispered, eyes opening. Sorry. For everything." Layers peeled back. Her confession of lifelong resentment. Jealous of my youth, my child, my escape from her lonely life. But also love buried deep. I was scared. Of being needed too much. Guilt overwhelmed. My revenge had pushed her to the edge. Yet, in that vulnerability, forgiveness flickered. Not full but a spark. The payoff. Poetic justice twisted. She recovered slowly with my help. Real this time, no masks. But the scar remained, a reminder of betrayal's cycle. Revenge hadn't healed. It had exposed the rot in us both. Lily visited, hugging her cautiously. "Nana's better now," I said, voice steady. In the end, the pursuit had changed me. Obsession to reflection, rage to resolve. We were broken but perhaps mendable. The suspense resolved not in triumph, but in uneasy peace. The twist. Revenge's true victim was the avenger.